Hi guys, it's Nicole again. As promised, today we're going to go over two things. Oven canning, which is very controversial. And the reason for that is a lot of people tell you that it's dangerous to do. People will do it for things like apple pie filling or other things. I use it strictly for dry canning. And we'll go over that. We're also going to do some apple pie filling since it's the holidays. So start off with oven canning. First off, you're going to wash, in hot soapy water, you're going to wash your jars and your lids, and you're going to put them on an oven pan. You're going to preheat your oven to 200 degrees, and you're going to put those in there for like 30 minutes. That will dry and sterilize your jars and your lids. Okay, so that's good. Now, apple pie filling. Okay, so you're going to need 2.5 cups of unsweetened apple juice, 2 3/4 cups granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of lemon juice, 2.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 2 1/4 cups ice cold water, and 1 box of Sure-Jell, which also is referred to as clear gel. It comes boxed like this and like this. Whoops, like this. And similar to this, you'll see clear gel, but it's not real common here in Ohio. So what we want to do is we want to put our apple juice, our water, our sugar, our cinnamon, our nutmeg, and our Sure-Jell all into the pan and bring it to a boil. So I'll see you guys when we're boiling. Okay, so here we are. We've got our cinnamon, our nutmeg, apple juice, water, and sugar along with our clear gel in the pan, and we're going to bring it all to a stage. We want it to thicken, not necessarily boil, but we want it to thicken. So we'll just keep that going until it reaches the proper stage, and I'll show you guys that. In the meantime, you want to have your jars and lids sterilizing. And you'll notice I've got a pan of water here that's got my lids in it. It'll stay there until I'm ready to can. And over here, this is my water bath canner. In my water bath canner, I've got my jars, and this will boil, and that will sterilize those jars. So I'll see you guys when we're ready for the next step. Hi guys, it's me again. I just wanted to give you a look. See how nice and clear it becomes? Now's when it's going to start thickening up. And watch for it to come to that bubble. We don't want it a rolling boil, we just want a little bubble. I'll see you in a few. Okay guys, we're back to our oven canning project. Now remember I said not long ago I was injured on the job. Well, I had to learn some survival skills, and let me tell you, the first thing I learned was that the food pantries will load you up. When you have to make a choice between buying food and paying bills, the food pantries will load you up. So if you're like me and you end up with a lot of dry cereal, now it can't be sugar cereal. It can be stuff like Cheerios, which they always have, or in my case right now, it's Rice Chex. Okay? Now that you've got your jars sterilized in the oven, you want to fill them up. Okay, you don't want to fill them too full. They'll shake and they'll go down. And if not, you just take some out, move it over, fill your jars, and then put your lids on and tighten them down. And it won't be long before you will hear what we call a ping. Basically, it sounds like the jar is popping, but it's the lid locking down for you. Okay, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now you see I've got all my jars filled. You just want to tighten them down finger tight. You don't want to wrench them down or anything. And then just let them sit on the tray while the jars cool, and you will start to hear a ping. And when you do, that's when you know your jars have sealed. All right. Be back with the apples in a minute. Hi guys, here's our boil. It's time to add our apples. So put your apples in and gently fold them. Get them mixed in there really good. And then it's time to start filling jars. Okay, now we've got our apples in there. We just want to get them mixed in there really good. And give them a few minutes to warm up. Trying to move so you guys got better light here. Okay, so do that. Get them good and warmed. And I'll be back in a few minutes. Hi guys, here we are ready to fill our jars. This is a canner's funnel. It's designed to fit over any size jar. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful to have. I recommend it highly. I didn't have one for a long time. So now we fill our jars, but you fill them only to a 1/4 inch from the top. You don't want to fill them all the way. Basically, what I do, I'll fill them, and I'll show you. I'll fill them to the bottom part of the lid here. You know, the mouth of the jar, the very bottom. And that works out beautifully. The the funnel also helps keep you from making huge messes, which I am very talented at. So, fill up our jars. And the beauty of canning, there's actually a lot of benefits to it. Not only are you expanding your food budget, but you're making healthier foods. Think about it. Okay, the body is not designed to process preservatives. That's why we all gain weight, because the body can't process the preservatives in our fast foods and our pizzas and everything else. Frozen foods, definitely bad. But when you're canning, you're starting with fresh ingredients, and you're preserving them in such a way that you're storing the absolute healthiest part of it. You can't possibly go wrong. And here's a great thing about apple pie filling. It's great straight out of the jar. If, I don't know, say your kids are hungry one day and they don't really need something to eat, but they need like a snack, your apple pie filling is perfect, because it will allow you to eat it straight out of the jar. Didn't get quite enough for that one. I think I'm going to stop there because that's not even enough for a jar. So this over here, out of the way. Okay, once you've filled your jars, it's really important. I've got a bowl of vinegar here. Another one of your uses for vinegar. And a paper towel. Just get your paper towel damp and wipe the rims of your jars. Make sure that there is nothing on the threads, nothing on the top. Even if you're using a canning funnel like I've got here, it's a good practice. Okay? Also, your kits are going to come with something called a debubbler. My debubbler got broke a while ago, so I'm using a chopstick, basically. You just run it around the sides of the jars to release any air bubbles that are in there. You should really do this before you wipe the jars, because you just got to wipe them down again. Again, not a professional videographer, so I'm kind of winging it. But once you go around the inside of your jars, you got all the bubbles out. Wipe the lids and the threads really good. And then we put our lids on. I can get hold of one, doesn't want to come out. There we go. Center them on the jars. Boy, I'm having a fun time tonight. Okay. There we go. And then put your rings on, finger tight. The jars and the rings you can reuse, not the lids. That one's giving me trouble, so I'm going to go with a different one. Sometimes after they reach a certain age, they'll warp and they'll bend slightly out of circle. Makes them difficult to put on. You can still use them, and I often do, but I just don't feel like futzing with it right now. So, out of that batch, I got 3 beautiful jars of apple pie. These are my jars. Aren't they gorgeous? Now we put them in the water bath and we cover them for at least 1 inch above the lid of the jar. So we want to have water at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches above the jar. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so here we go. The water is 1.5 inches above the jars of my lids, or the lids of my jars, rather. We got to wait for it to come to a boil, and it's got to be a hard rolling boil. When it reaches that point, we time it for 25 minutes. That's our processing time, 25 minutes. I'll see you in 25, well, probably about a half hour. Okay, here it is. This is when we start timing, 25 minutes from here. See you in 25 minutes. And here we are, 25 minutes later. Make sure when you pull your jars out, you set them on a clean, dry towel and cover them with a clean, dry towel. This keeps them from getting hit with any cold breezes and prevents any cracking. Okay, guys, so that's it for canning for tonight anyway. Cover my jars and make sure they're well protected. Remember, whenever you're canning, cleanliness is the most important thing. Always make sure that your jars are clean with hot soapy water. Make sure that you debubble your jars. Make sure you add vinegar to your boiling water to protect your glass jars. Keep them from fogging on you. Let's see. Clean your rims. Debubble. And always follow your processing time. I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do next week. If anybody has any questions or ideas, hey, if there's something you want to can, let me know. And we'll work on that. At some point in time, I'm going to teach you guys how to can, believe it or not, meatloaf.